the silence of thunder. So this is chapter 3, and it's called Beyond Power. As long as man has someone or something to which he can cling, he will not find God. Whatever man knows or is able to know with his human mentality, whether a thing or a thought, is not God. No one is going to find God while he has anything on which he's to stand, anything to which he can hold, or anything about which he can think. Startling and unbelievable as this may seem to be, nevertheless, it is true. Most of us have known a fair share of good things of life and a few of the bad ones. And while we may not have been happy with the bad things, we undoubtedly would also admit that we did not find any permanent happiness in the good ones. Many of us must have Many of us must have suspected that there is something beyond all this. But what? What is that something? Is it God? And if so, what is it that man calls God? Is it God just a vague hope or senseless dream? Or is God really obtainable? It is possible to know God. The search for God is easy for anyone. And when the revelation of God does come, it is something so entirely different from what was expected that if a person is honest, he will have to confess that it is beyond his understanding. Only after finding collaboration for what he himself has discovered, as it is present in a thousand different ways through the spoken and written words, then living with it for years and years does it ultimately register. Religion ev- involves evolves because somewhere far back in the past, men was constantly encountering troubles of one sort or another in their human experiences. If there were fishermen, they found that fish were not running well in some season. If they were hunters, they were periods where the game was scarce. And for those engaged in farming, some years there was too much rain and some years not enough. Occasionally, there were enemies from across the borders molesting them, and at such times the strong nearly always overcame the weak, plundering their less powerful neighbors and often reducing them to the status of slaves. Even if they did not hold their captives in complete physical slavery, they held them in mental slavery, keeping them in much darkness as possible, that they might exploit them the more easily. But then, if and when the weak became strong, the picture was often reversed. The record of history indicates that the mighty have always taken from the weak. Bullets overpowered those who had bows and arrows. Cannons triumphed bullets, and finally, bombs overcame cannons. One power has always been used to overcome another power, and as last resort, man has have turned to God, hoping that He would be more powerful than the weapon they possess. The Old Testament is filled with accounts of people and nations who called upon God to destroy their enemies, that these enemies were more wicked than they and therefore deserved to be destroyed, is usually not recounted, only that they needed the land of their enemies or the enemies' slaves, or that they needed some other thing which their enemies possessed. Their whole objective in praying to God was that He would wipe out the enemies and deliver them to their property. That is what God means to most people today. Sometimes to use, something to use. Only now, instead of being concerned merely with their human enemies, people have assigned to God the additional responsibility of removing their disease and sins. Always man seeks a greater power with which to overcome those powers that disrupt or annoy him. So I'll stop right there and go back to the passage. What the passage was called? The passage was called Beyond Power. So from what I deciphered, from what I read, is that man is always will only seek to find God when he's disturbed. Very seldom do we just find God in the stillness. And where we at now and what we're practicing is the stillness, to be still and allow God to move, just allowing yourself to be a vessel and him to move in a still small voice through you, not seeking a power to overcome another power, but just seeking God for who he is and who we are in that oneness. So, with that said, let's go into our meditation. I want you to sit comfortable as possible, erect as possible, with your head to the heavens and your uh, bottom to the earth. And I just want you to close your eyes and command your body to be still. Now I want you to continue to keep your eyes closed and can command your mind to stop thoughts. Now I want you to just continue to breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Notice I said not out through your mouth, but out through your nose. So we're focusing below our nostrils and above our lip. And you're just feeling the sensation, knowing that God is nearer to you than breathing. Now just sit and breathe, not expecting anything, not asking for anything, but just allowing his presence and his power to reign in you, through you, and all around you. As we come back to consciousness, slowly open your eyes. And as you continue on your week, know that you can go within to source for all power. You are a powerful being. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Enjoy the rest of your week.